These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
This isn't really timely anymore because the news came out, I don't know, a couple days ago, but my guess is Judd's still a little hot under the collar from seeing this come across social media. So, by the way, we have a Write That Down episode today on both shows where we make predictions and mostly just make fun of each other for being wrong. So check those out. Judd's OTA observations yesterday on Purple Daily. You can find those.
Look at that. I'm still paying the price. Nose burnt.
Why don't you wear sunscreen?
I should have. Okay. I made a mistake.
Tough
Dawn
guy.
said the same thing. I made a mistake. I should have worn. You know what? I made a mistake.
I lathered up in SPF 50 over Memorial Weekend, like every 20 minutes with this alabastered Irish skin that I have.
Yeah, you're really
no burns.
white.
No burns. I was good.
I burned, but you must really burn, Declan.
I do. Irish.
I can't remember ever seeing Declan tan. Like, do you
Very
get burnt?
rare.
When you get burnt, does it turn into tan or does
Yeah.
it just go from red back to, okay.
No, yeah, it will. But usually I get really bad sunburns. I'm trying to be more diligent, unlike Judd yesterday at camp. But yeah, no, I'm not a tan guy. No, I am not.
Okay. So SPF up, kids and Judd.
Mm-hmm.
Next
Okay.
week.
SPF
Next week.
up.
2 days of camp. I'm going to SPF all over the place. That's what I'm going to do next week. I promise.
Just shows up with I want the white streak down the nose.
Yeah.
I want it all.
It's entirely possible.
So here's a clip from The Athletic. Team USA basketball's roster for the upcoming FIBA World Cup in the Philippines is beginning to take shape. And it will include multiple rising NBA stars making their American national team debut, including Minnesota Timberwolves All-Star Anthony Edwards, who is among a select group of talented young players who will make up the 12-man American roster. So Team USA starts training camp on August 3rd in Las Vegas. Then they play their first exhibition game on August 7th against Puerto Rico. Then they do like a 2-week barnstorming thing in Spain. So they're going over to Spain. And then World Cup play against New Zealand begins on August 26th. The Philippines. So they're going United States, over to Europe, over to Philippines, back around the globe. NBA training camp. So August 3rd and then all the way through August, early September, and then NBA training camp, which I don't think there's a date yet, but usually opens in late September. So I turn it over to the most anti-international sporting event person I know. A man who hates the Olympics, a man who laments World Cups, anything to do with FIBA, anything to do with the red, white, and blue, basically. Anti-American Judd Zolgad. Is this a good or bad thing for the Timberwolves that Anthony Edwards is stepping up to help lead Team USA?
Well, first of all, I would prefer that he didn't because if you go back a couple of years, he got hurt in one of these practices for a tournament just like this. He turned his ankle badly, and
yeah, he was part of like
there was real concern about that.
It was like the practice team against the Olympians.
That's what it was.
But anyway, ago, right?
It was an unnecessary competitive event during a time when I would like my guys. I'm not saying that they shouldn't get exercise and play a little hoops. I'm saying that they are going these type of tournaments and training camps lead to extremely competitive, somewhat playoff-like atmospheres because there's an urgency to try and win here. So I don't like this at all.
I love you use the word unnecessary. Unnecessary. The Olympics.
The international game is unnecessary to us. We here in this country are focused on our sports when our leagues are going on. But anyway, so here's the only way I can torture this into being okay. The only way I can torture this is he's young, and I do think that playing in and with good players in a competitive environment at his age and with his skill set, knock on wood, that he doesn't get hurt, obviously. But I do think that there is something to be said for that for a guy his age, which is why I absolutely positively would tell a guy like Gobert, you are never playing for your country again as long as you're on my team. You're an old man. You have nothing to gain. Like, if you don't know what competition is, dude, then you're hopeless. So screw you. So when Gobert plays, I say this is stupid. Not because he is playing for France, and obviously we would be fans of the United States teams, but because he has nothing to gain at his age by actually going and playing the schedule, Phil, that you just laid out, which is a lot of travel and again, a lot of high pressure games.
Yeah.
I don't love this at all, but I am willing to say that if things go well, Ant is going to gain experience that, quite frankly, he probably has not gained here. So that's the one way that I can torture this into being far more acceptable than some old man going overseas to play in a highly competitive tournament in which he has no business participating.
So if I could be the judge translator, so rather than just saying the truth, which is you hate it, you're saying I'm going to torture this into a loophole where I can kind of see how it might be good.
But
you really hate it.
Well, if I was doing contracts, if I ran a team, my contracts would say,
okay,
you ain't playing unless you're playing for me or you're preparing to play for me. And obviously a summer basketball tournament that is highly competitive is not great. But I'm serious in saying this. I do think that there is at least an advantage here. If all goes well, again, he doesn't get hurt. I think there's an advantage at his age to gain experience that I don't think he's probably come close to gaining here, and he can learn and he can. So that's my thing with old men. I don't want old guys playing in these tournaments. There's nothing to be gained for them. And the Gobert thing bit them in the ass because ultimately he started to say, that summer basketball tournament was stuff. No bleep, Sherlock.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, there's a huge difference, and you've pointed this out, between a 30-year-old 7-footer and a 21, 22-year-old guard when it comes to the wear and tear. For a guy who's 7 feet tall, we know historically your feet have a certain amount of steps on them as a basketball player, and then they just explode, right? Like Yao Ming was probably 26, 27 years old, and oh God, my feet exploded. And who knows, like Karl Anthony Towns, he plays kind of a heavy thumping style of basketball. A lumbering style. Probably not going to be playing at a high level when he's 33, 34. And Rudy Gobert, you start to see a little bit of a decline this year, and the Jazz were obviously onto this. I don't think they knew that he was going to go into training camp injured, but so 30-year-old 7-footer, different category. Rudy Gobert than a 21, 22-year-old Anthony Edwards. I love this for Anthony Edwards. And I just want to say, I went into this entire conversation with an open mind, ready to hear out if Jubb was going to crap on this. I wanted to come with sort of a neutral stance because you're right, it is more wear and tear. But I went in and my first thought was, okay, over the last 10 to 20 years, what are some examples of players, high profile players with expectations in the NBA who are young or maybe not even young, and then they go and play FIBA or they go and do the Olympics thing in the summer? What happens after that? And if you look up and down, and I know there's examples didn't Paul George shatter his leg on a stanchion one time? I mean, there's definitely examples out there that you can find, so I'm not going to deny that. But Devin Booker and Jason Tatum, for instance, they played on the 2020 Summer Olympic team as young guys. They were, in their early 20s. Those guys played in the Olympics, and then their careers exploded over the last 3 seasons, playing in the NBA Finals, multiple first-team All-NBA bids. Just those guys are in the top 10, top 15 of everyone's. They have had zero ramifications from playing in the Olympics. Kobe Bryant. Remember Kobe Bryant when he was 30 years old? They brought him up for the Redeem team. I think it was 2008, because wasn't 04 was the year that they embarrassingly lost or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then they summoned 30-year-old Kobe to come play for the Redeem team in 2008. So he's already had 12 years of NBA wear and tear, and now he's going to do the Summer Olympics thing. And Shaq's no longer with the Lakers, so he's carrying this team. They win the gold medal, and then the Lakers follow up with back-to-back championships. Kobe played all 82 regular season games the year after those Summer Olympics and 23 playoff games. And then he kept playing at a high level until he was 34 and then eventually tore his Achilles tendon. And that was kind of the end of it. So I don't think there's a lot of evidence, again, unless there's a dumb luck situation that could happen if you're training, that we should be worried that Anthony Edwards at age 21 or 22 is, oh my God, he's going to be too tired. he needs, I mean, one of the things he said is, I need to get in better physical condition. I want to be one of the most Energizer Bunny players in the league. Well, playing this much basketball against some of the best players in the world is going to help you accomplish that. And I think what you see is that these guys go and they play this intense international style, and they're around these amazing coaches and players. Like, you soak all that in.
Right. That's
so
exactly.
I would rather him soak it all in and be a little tired maybe for training camp than not have this experience at all. So I am not only for this, I am all for this for Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, Doogie and Jen and I talked about it yesterday on the Bonus Scoops episode too. He's going to be playing basketball in the summer, whether it's for internationally, whether it's hooping with his buddies or getting work in with his trainers or whatnot. He's going to be playing basketball in some capacity. So if he wants to play in an international tournament, I'm all for it. I lean towards you guys that I don't need a veteran older guy who has maybe possibly injury issues or just can break down a lot easier, like Rudy Gobert going to play for Team France or doing anything like that. I completely get it. And also, I am a sucker for the Olympics. I love the Olympics, unlike Judd Zulgad. I think the Olympics are great. I love winter. I love summer. Playing all the Olympics. I'm a fan of the Olympic play. So I am totally okay with Anthony Edwards playing.
What about World Cups, though? Are you... Because this isn't quite Olympics. This is World Cups. Are you okay with World Cups?
I'm fine with this World Cup. Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. It's all good with me.
I would not allow my players to play in anything but Olympics.
So you're out. So now everything you just said is actually off the board.
I would not. No. I just told you in my contracts, I would write in language specifically about what they could and couldn't do as far as basketball. Because Dex, the point is this though: you're going to play against your friends. We're talking about a highly competitive tournament. But again, with Ant, as Phil said, at his age, and on this, for the most part, far too often craptastic franchise, it actually benefits him to actually get around some competence as well, consistent competence. So I have a very different feeling about guys, let's say age 28 and up, going and playing and stuff like this, and a guy who is a kid, especially when he is not exactly surrounded by a culture that I think is the greatest. I think that there probably is a lot to be learned here off the court.
I mean, isn't Steve Kerr, like the coaches you get to...
Yeah,
dude, the coaches you get to work... Look at this. So Steve Kerr, I just looked this up. Oh, my God. Here's the coaches for this team that you get to be a part of, soaking in their knowledge and everything. Steve Kerr is the head coach. Eric Spoelstra is on the staff.
Yeah, see, this is good.
Gonzaga's Mark Few, one of the great college basketball coaches.
Thanks to Dan Munson leaving. Yes.
You get to just hang out for a month with those coaches, soak in their knowledge.
So does Ant come back from this fantastic experience and demand a trade to the Warriors or the Heat?
He'd actually be a pretty good Heat culture guy, I feel like.
He would.
Take that Jimmy Butler role.
Spoelstra is unbelievable.
Yeah, and tonight, NBA Finals on 1500 ESPN Radio. You can find it right here in the Twin Cities. Game 3.
That? Where?
1500 ESPN Radio.
I got to
the former home of Mackie and Judd's 19-hour radio show that we used to do.
Stuff you should know about.
Stop. Just shut
questions of significant importance.
Questions of significant importance.
Stop.
Otherwise known as, how do you fill 16 segments a day in 4 hours?
I was just talking to someone was like DMing me. Oh no, I went on a guy's podcast and he asked me about like future of the business and what's the difference between producing, AM radio and podcasting. And I said, as someone who's not a math guy, producing radio turned into a math problem for me. It's always counting. You're looking ahead. You're looking at spot blocks. You're looking at timing. You're looking at segments. All of a sudden, what should be just like a really fun, cool job turns into a legit calculus problem of how do I get to the finish line so I can start the next show on time.
What time do we have to be out here if we're going to, because we need to get at least 5 minutes of every quarter hour if we want to play the ratings game.
52-51.
Yeah.
Like you get these weird times.
Yes.
Like what time do I couldn't have done that. I'm with Dex here. I'd be like, just get out when you get out.
And they tasked me with doing the math. Like that was also a problem. I shouldn't be doing the math for that.
Yeah, what time are we out? Okay, well, the bumper music starts at 53:45, and then you guys will be out at, I don't effing know.
And by the way, don't play the wrong bumpers because we got research that we're going to have to go off the air.
Oh, my God. I was thinking about that. God. This is such inside baseball, but oh man. Yeah, there was a time where we thought if we just play like younger music, maybe younger people will listen to our AM sports radio station. No, that's not how that works. A couple other examples, just going through some of these other previous like World Cup teams. So LeBron James, and I know that I'm using Kobe Bryant and LeBron James as examples. Those are two of the all-time greatest players ever. But keep in mind, Anthony Edwards, number 1 overall pick. He's already just one of the best players in the postseason, averaging like 30 points a game, postseason. So I think you can compare Anthony Edwards and his physical frame and his potential to some of the best players the last 15 or 20 years. So LeBron played in the World Cup in 2006 at age 22. The next season, he played 98 total games, regular season, postseason, and dragged that ragtag Cavs team to the NBA Finals. That was the year. So he plays internationally, age 22. It's his first foray into, I don't know who was coaching at the time, Greg Popovich or whoever it was. And, oh, man, is he going to be tired? No, he's going to drag Ilgauskas and Larry Hughes to the NBA Finals against the San Antonio Spurs.
Larry Hughes. Don't disparage Larry Hughes.
I like Larry Hughes, too. He's a good player.
St. Louis, right?
Like college?
Yeah, I think he played at St. Louis.
That's an amazing poll if you're right. Let's see.
If it's right. It might not
Random
be right.
college athlete of the week.
I don't know why I don't know why I thought
Let me
that he
see.
played for the Billikens, but I thought he did.
That's the most random poll ever. You're right. St. Louis. Judd. Wow. Random random.
I don't know why I remembered that. I must have been watching him play in college or something.
So he played for what's his name? Rick Majerus, former friend of the Royce and Mackey show. You could bring Rick Majerus on for a 20-minute interview. Literally ask him 2 questions. He would talk for 10 minutes on the first one, 10 minutes on the second one.
So you could take a break.
You could
like
leave
you
the room,
asked your question, got up,
yeah.
went to the bathroom, went downstairs, got a pop maybe, came back, and Rick was still going.
Royce, you would go down, get lunch, come back.
I gotta go.
LeBron also played Summer Olympics in 2008 at the age of 24, and then followed that up with back-to-back MVPs, his first 2 ever MVPs.
Yeah. I am willing to say that I have a hardline stance against some guys, especially vets playing. In this case, I see the advantage. I would not want to make it a consistent thing. But I mean, if Ant turns out to be the player that he is tracking to be, he will get more of this experience because he should become a key guy on these teams.
Yes, I mean,
to what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the other thing that kind of sorts out is, okay, let's put, and for this roster, it's a lot of young guys. It's not Olympics, so you're going to bring younger guys into the system. It's like Halliburton. I'd have to go look at but it's a lot of guys Brandon Ingram making their debut, I think, internationally.
Sure.
So that's another benefit. All right, we're going to put 12 young sharks in the water here. Who emerges? What does the pecking order look like? Are you the top dog among 12 of the best young players? That'll be another interesting thing to see play out. Before we get to Judd's random Minnesota athlete of the week here, a couple things. So A-Rod's been doing the media tour. A-Rod went on Craig Kilborn's podcast, and then he went on a couple other shows last week. And
your friend, you mean Craig Kilborn?
My friend, my brunch friend, Craig Kilborn.
You might as well do the drop right now.
He's my brunch friend.
Do the name drop.
Craig Kilborn.
Yeah, he's on your show.
A couple months ago, when did the Wolves get eliminated? Like early May?
Yeah.
I think it was before Game 5 when they got bounced. And I was out on my patio putting together what I thought was going to be an easy assemble patio furniture situation.
Oh,
just always turns into a 6-hour ordeal.
That's always a mistake when you think it's going to be.
My phone rang, and it was Craig Kilborn out of the blue. Just wanted to talk about Game 5. We talked about Game 5 for like 30 minutes. So, yes, my brunch friend and my phone chatting friend, Craig Kilborn. A-Rod was on his podcast. That guy, Craig Kilborn.
I mean, it's only a matter of time before you and Alex are good friends, too.
I'm hoping that happens at some point. We'll see. So, anyways, Alex on all these podcasts, there's a few different themes that pop up. One of them is Anthony Edwards is amazing, and A-Rod keeps calling it a two-way mentoring street, where A-Rod is mentoring Ant in some ways, and Ant is mentoring A-Rod on the finer points of basketball. But another point that I want to dive into with you guys here is A-Rod continues to rave about Tim Connolly. And he even went so far as saying that Timberwolves fans should feel very lucky to have Tim Connolly because look at what he built in Denver. Denver's about to maybe win the NBA Finals here, and Connolly was the architect for most of that roster. Ownership is all in on Connolly, Alex said. If Connolly brings a decision to ownership, we listen. How do you feel about A-Rod going to bat that aggressively for Tim Connolly?
I trust nothing he says. I trust zero he says. I don't like him. I hope the mentoring, if Ant wants to tell Alex what's what, that's awesome. I do not want Alex here's my experience. He was a cheat. He's a questionable character. Lori, I am willing to buy, okay? And I might be totally wrong here. He might turn out to be a bad guy himself. But as far as I can tell, I am willing to buy in. He looks like a very smart guy. He's probably a shark, but there's nothing wrong with being a shark. I think Rodriguez, to me, I don't trust anything he says. So, like, if the Conley thing is true or not, I don't even know. So, like, when he says that, if it was a person I trusted, I would say that's great. But I don't trust him.
Yeah. Yeah, like he could say those things about Connolly, and then I don't think they're going to do this, and then just like fire him 5 minutes later, and you wouldn't blink. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
But I do believe that
yes, exactly.
People have gone too far off the Gobert trade, just like treating Tim Connolly like David Kahn or something. Oh, he's a blithering idiot who made the dumbest trade in NBA history. And if you start to look at some of the players they gave up, a lot of those guys were benched in the playoffs for the Lakers. I'm not saying it was a great trade in retrospect, but I think the Conley trade was a great trade to get rid of D'Lo. I mean, they sold on D'Lo before one of the most embarrassing postseason performances a Max player has ever had. So I just found it interesting that A-Rod is out there, and he could have just kind of, we like the job Tim's doing. We have a lot of work to do. I mean, he said Wolves fans should be lucky to have him, and anything he brings to us, we are all in. This is one of the smartest. He also said you got Pat Riley and you got, I can't remember who the other one he said. He named like two of the great executives of all time. And he goes,
Jerry West.
Obviously those guys are in a different, I don't think it was West, but somebody. Those guys are in a different category. But Tim Connolly is like leading the next tier of front office decision makers. And a lot of people were saying that a year ago when the Timberwolves hired him. But
right.
So very interesting. And then A-Rod has also confirmed on multiple interviews that Gobert was indeed banged up from international play last year. And he said, quote, "We expect him to have a monster season this year." So putting a little pressure on old Rudy Gobert.
To go back to the Ant thing quickly, too, here's what I think I like the most. I think Ant is going to be put in a situation there, especially with that coaching staff, that really gives him a great insight into what winning looks like. That's what I like the most. Because I think, you know what? It's hard probably when you're his age to be super critical of Cat until you get life experience elsewhere. And then you're like, oh, that's what that looks like, right? So I think that might be, because there is no question that Ant is going to be the marquee face of this franchise, hopefully for a long time. And I think it's really good that he's going to be put into a very different situation where he sees what great coaching and what winning looks like, because that's when you could come back and say what we've been saying for a couple of years, you guys, which is Karl-Anthony Towns a really talented human being, but is he a winning personality? Is he a winning player? And I think it's very hard to pass that judgment unless you have something to base that statement off of. And now he's going to.
Now you're coming around. Here's the list of guys he's going to, not only the coaches that we mentioned, but to that point about being around winners. Now, none of these guys are Kobe, LeBron, these are all younger players trying to make their way, but there's some interesting guys on this team. So this is from The Athletic. So Anthony Edwards, Jaren Jackson Jr., Triple J from the Memphis Grizzlies, reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Tyrese Halliburton, Austin Reeves from the Lakers, Brandon Ingram, Mikal Bridges, Bobby Portis, Jalen Brunson have all committed to play. Okay. So, just being around Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges, there's some guys who know what they're doing a little bit and are a couple of years older than he is. And they're still trying to fill out the rest of the roster. Grant Hill is the managing director now who's putting together the roster. So you're around Grant Hill, Steve Kerr, Eric Spoelstra. I love it. A shout out, by the way, to our friends at Burnsville Heating and Air. They are hiring. So if you are a fast learner looking for a job change, perhaps, Burnsville Heating and Air is hiring all HVAC positions with all levels of experience. You're going to get great training from the pros as well. So if you don't have any experience, they will help you and train you. If you're searching for a great summer job, or maybe you're a recent college grad and you're listening to this right now, you can work close to home with full-time jobs throughout the 7-county metro area in western Wisconsin. Join the rapidly growing team of heating and cooling experts for over 35 years at Burnsville Heating and Air. That's burnsvilleheating.com. Just click on careers, burnsvilleheating.com, and click on careers. All right. Random athlete of the week here. Judd Zolgad. So the new rule here from Declan is when you lose, you're out. Winner gets to keep the court. So, Judd, you lost, which means you put together the clues here.
Yeah, I got them right here.
Declan on a 3-game winning streak here. Michael Olowokandi, Matt Lawton, and Mike Redmond to tie Judd. We've done 7 of these. Judd 3, Declan 3, Old Macadac with 1. So you'll throw out 3. You'll throw out clues. We get up to 3 incorrect guesses each, and then we can ask you questions, but you can refuse to answer.
Refuse to answer and be a complete a-hole if I want.
Mm-hmm.
All right, gentlemen. Today is a random Minnesota athlete of the week is a former Minnesota Twin.
Okay.
It's a former Twin.
Okay.
Clue number 1. This rando was born in South Carolina. Hails from South Carolina. Clue number 2. Speaking of our previous topic, this former Twin had international experience that included playing in an Olympic Games. Baseball in the Olympics, he played.
All right, I'll throw a guess out. Doug Minkiewicz.
He's from Florida, though, I think.
I don't think he's from South Carolina. Had to guess it.
That was the first one that came to mind, too.
He just did an interview, too, where he ripped the Twins organization and down on a podcast for how poorly they developed Byron Buxton.
He is so bitter about the Twins.
He told a story about how he would pencil Buxton in 3rd in the lineup in the organization. I think he means Falvey and Levine, right?
I think that, I think they fired him, right?
I think they did.
I think they fired him. But yeah, I don't know if he was, but per your story, I don't know which administration that was. You're right.
So he'd pencil Buxton in 3rd, and then they would say, well, we want him to hit at the top of the order. But then they also want him to learn how to hit because he can't hit an off-speed pitch. He can hit fastballs all day. And Dougie's like, well, they're not going to throw him breaking balls right away. He had logic for if he hits 3rd, they're going to throw him more breaking balls. So I'm actually thinking a level higher than you are. Yeah. But then he just crapped all over them. It's hilarious.
I'm pretty sure it was Terry Ryan organization because he was coaching him in high A ball. And Falvey and Terry Ryan was relieved of his duties, in 2015? And Buxton had made his debut with the Twins, 16. I believe, in 2015. So I think he's more referencing Terry Ryan, but could be still obviously having some.
Yeah.
Very bitter, man.
The new regime definitely let him go, but that was early. So most of his, maybe he's just mad at all of them. I'm not sure.
That's very plausible.
Anyway.
All right, clue number 3. This player's minor league stops included Salt Lake and Edmonton at the time, Pacific Coast League. Clue number 4. This former Twin is actually a father of twins. Fraternal, for the record.
All right. I got another guess. Michael Kadire.
He's from Virginia.
Wow, and Declan's on
but
fire
has twins.
right now.
He does have twins, and I think did play for Salt Lake.
I think you're right. I think you're right on both those. Clue number 5. This former Twin actually had 2 stints with the Twins. And by that, I don't mean he got sent down. I mean he had stint 1, went elsewhere, came back. So 2 separate stints with Minnesota.
It's not that guy then.
God, now I only have one guess. Son of a...
I'm pretty good at this, aren't I, huh? Huh?
What's funny is the Twins have a lot of guys that have twins from that era. Kadire has twins. Maurer has twins.
Something in the water, maybe.
So
Shall I keep going?
Another
Yeah,
guy.
yep.
Oh, I thought Dex might guess. Okay. Now, clue number 6.
Dex should just wait me out now. I'm probably going to get it wrong.
This former Twin spent time at multiple spots during his career as far as positions go. Places. So this former
What do you
Twin
mean?
spent time at multiple spots so he played first base, for instance. He was a DH at times. He moved around. He had trouble finding a home as far as where he was going to be slated from a position and or DH, technically not a position, I guess, but spots.
Interesting.
All right. Clue number 7. This former Twin attended Clemson with the intention of teaching, of becoming a teacher. And that's going to quickly feed into clue 8 here, which I will give you to tie these two together, because this is how much work I did this morning. I got a note from Phil at like 7:10. Can you pick the the random athlete of the week? And I'm like, absolutely. And Dawn's like, what are you doing? What are you working on? I'm like,
I gotta get up. I
gotta get up and I gotta crunch.
Judd's muttering to himself as he writes.
I do that a lot, which is not going to surprise you guys. Clue number 8 that feeds in from clue 7 is this former Twin is teaching now, although not in a classroom.
What does that mean?
He is teaching. He is mentoring. He is mentoring. He is not a teacher per se, but he is teaching the craft. Shall I say the craft of baseball? I can keep going unless somebody wants to guess.
So it's,
keep going.
Man, these are some. I feel like it's right there. Like it's.
You're gonna kick yourself. At whoever does not get this is gonna kick himself. All right, clue number 9. This former Twin once hit a grand slam while pinch hitting versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Clue number 10. Clue number 10. Tell me if I should stop. I'll just continue. This former Twin also spent time professionally in the big leagues, playing in the Twins' first home, where they came from.
What?
This former Twin also played
in Mets Stadium
in the Twins' first home, where the franchise relocated from.
Oh, Matthew LeCroy.
Yep.
Yes. Oh man. I had his name written down after you said he couldn't find his position, but then you didn't say catcher. You said first base, DH.
Yeah, well, I mean, in multiple positions. I was catcher.
Man, you were playing the game, man. You were playing the game. I didn't realize he had 2 stints or twins, but
came back in 2007.
Matthew LeCroy.
When Morales, the catcher, got hurt in 2007.
Oh yeah,
he came back and was signed, and then I think his career finished playing independent league baseball in like 2008.
Yes.
Before he went back to Washington. But
I remember that grand slam, the Blue Jays grand slam. I do remember that.
Yep.
That
and I do have the fact that he made Frank Robinson cry because he stuck him in a game hurt, and Houston stole like 7 bases. But I didn't. But if I gave that one, that was going to be too easy. Really the Frank Robinson crying one.
Wow, there it is. All right, Matthew LeCroy, old Macadac, finally gets a Twins pelt on the wall here. Randy Foy was the other one. So Judd 3, Declan 3, old Macadac 2, and Declan's 3-game winning streak has come to an end. So he'll give the clues next week. Good stuff. Judd, you got a knack for this, man.
Got to keep it interesting.
Got a knack for this.
I might have found a career right now.
South Carolina, you know what's funny? When you said, I was thinking LeCroy early too, like when you said South Carolina and Salt Lake, because he was one of those, when they had those Pacific Coast League teams 20 years ago, some of the numbers those guys put up,
ridiculous.
And everyone put up numbers in that league, but he was one of them. So anyhow, all right. Thanks for hanging out with us here. We got predictions and an accountability session on the other chunk of this show, Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd.